We start here this hour. President Cyril Ramaphosa is definitely not having a good week. Ramaphosa had to cancel his engagements to try and work out how to save his position amid a scathing Phala-Phala report. The Section 89 panel report paints the president as a constitutional delinquent. For more, the story, we're joined by eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones as well as Aviwe Mtila. Good morning yet again to the both of you. Perhaps to start with you, Pule, what are some of the ANC NEC members saying regarding this report?
Well, Nomfundo, surprisingly, some of the senior members within the ANC ranks have come out to say that the report wasn't assertive in the sense that it does not give clear direction and maybe rigid recommendations, one of which was, of course, the national chairperson, Mtila, who came in the protection of the ANC's number one, of course, being President Cyril Ramaphosa, saying that he expected more from the report, but also, and I quote, saying it was badly written. That's according to Mtila as well. But perhaps we can just take a listen to what he had to say regarding that report, which is handed over to the Speaker of the National Assembly after being conducted by the Section 89 panel.
There's nothing I don't understand in a judicial process that comes with a recommendation that says may. Okay. I prefer a process that is judicial to say must, have, because when it gives you certainty. When it says you may, it gives you a discretion. You may not pursue it if you don't want to. So that's why I call it a badly written report. The report must be assertive in giving its recommendations. Then it guides everybody who must implement it.
Now, Pule, broadly speaking, though, does it seem as though the president still enjoys a great amount of support within the ranks?
Well, definitely, just like you've heard from those remarks there, yesterday, you'd remember, there was some sort of pressure, and there was, of course, some sources confirming that the president was on the brink of actually resigning, however, was convinced and persuaded otherwise not to resign by some of those who were close to him within the ranks of the ANC, and of course in government as well. Consultations spanned into the late hours of the evening, and from what we understand is that everything is now rigid, and the president has actually taken that opportunity to think twice now and also listen to that advice that's been given to him from some of his advisories and of course the colleagues within the political and government ranks as well. But should also remember, apart from that, there are also some detractors as well. There are some members who've called for the president to step aside and resign immediately. Just a few days ago, you'd remember Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma telling colleague JJ Tabane that according to her view, she'd expect the president to step aside immediately. But let's just take a listen to what one of those in support of the president, Mtila, had to say in regards to what transpired yesterday with the pressure mounting for the president being called to step aside.
Let me give you background to this. All the time when there was this issue of Phala-Phala, we insisted, some of us, that people were saying the president must go, and we said no, there are investigations. Let's wait for those processes to come to an end. One process has come to an end, to produce a report that I'm in the middle of reading, badly written, but it is there. And Cyril Ramaphosa, as I know him, is a decent human being. He is not going to allow himself to be dragged into a noise. He will walk away from it, whether the report is unconvincing or not. He will do that. So all I'm saying is that those reports talk to the issue, because the report comes and say you have a case to answer, and if you say that to Cyril Ramaphosa, he will say to me, then I'm stepping out of this.
All right, let's rope in Aviwe Mtila now, who's also just monitoring the situation ahead of that all-important NEC meeting. Aviwe, a bit earlier in the previous hour, you spoke to political analyst Mr. Defu, who was quite, or rather belabored the point that at this point it doesn't seem, though, as if there is an alternative if the president were to step aside, actually imploring the president to reconsider somewhat.
Well, Mfundo, I made jokes with those political analysts saying that it doesn't seem that the previous presidents, we've had a rosy relationship with those presidents, but you do know that a lot of truth is said in jest. For example, former President Jacob Zuma breaking up with the country on Valentine's Day, resigning back in 2018, and a decade before that it was former President Thabo Mbeki resigning on the 24th of September 2008. In speaking to political analysts, Professor Tefo, he suggested that this was intentional, given that these presidents had the interests of other rather than the interests of the country. They served at the behest of the African National Congress, and therefore every time the ANC said they must toe the line and resign, they do just that, taking the interests of the ANC before the interests of the country. In fact, it's one of those conversations I've been having just outside the seat of power, the union buildings, in the course of the morning with Professor Tefo. Let's just take a listen to what he had to say.
We don't seem to have a rosy romantic relationship with our presidents. Why is it so? Precisely because they are not our president. They are the president of the organizations elected by the organization on behalf of the people. When are the people of South Africa going to elect their own leaders? Until and unless we deal with that, come another 5 or 20 years, we'll still be firing or a president being removed by the factions that are powerful for the day. Change the Electoral Act of the Republic of South Africa so that the people of South Africa can elect their leaders. I tell you, had that been the case, Mbeki would have finished his term. Most probably would not have had the so-called wasted years. Because until and unless you deal with meritocracy, you are opening the door for kleptocracy. We can use all the jargons we please, but here we are with Cyril Ramaphosa. Why is he going? At the end of the day, those who elected him, not me. I can't tell you that he's doing a bad job. If anything, comparatively speaking, he has done well, but he has to go because a faction wants them out. Please, let the people of the land begin to decide on how we change the system, that the people, the presidents are accountable to us, and we have a romantic relationship, a good one, as you said.
Some interesting insights there, speaking of the limitations of the electoral system of the country. Aviwe, thank you very much for that update, as well as the Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who's currently outside a Luthuli house. Now, President Ramaphosa is consulting with various stakeholders and the powers that be on the damning Phala-Phala report. That's the word from his spokesperson,